Okay, here we go. We're into December here. I'm Tom Novak. This is your AdisseoDEC and Novak weather 30-day outlook now for the month of December. Thank you for joining me. Of course, we're going to look back at a little bit at what happened in November, and then we will take an in-depth look here at December in this video. All right, what you're seeing right now, these were the temperature departures over the last 30 days here through the month of November. You can kind of see we had a jet stream structure that was basically oriented like this across the country, as you had colder air funneling down into the western half of the country and then warmer air here building up over the eastern sections of the country. I think that's going to flip a little bit, and we're eventually going to get a jet stream structure something like this, and that will allow warm air to return to the western sections of the country and probably some colder air, much colder air here over the northern sections of the U.S. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. Here was precipitation, the departures from normal over the last 30 days. And I think what's most important here is look at how dry it was over the Plains states again. From North Dakota on south to northern Texas, many areas pretty dry. And that is the same with the western Corn Belt. And areas that probably don't need the rain that much, which would be the Gulf of Mexico, certainly got plenty of it here over the last 30 days. All right, here we go. These are the heights in the atmosphere, thicknesses in the atmosphere, and where you see blue and purple, those are lowering heights and thicknesses in the atmosphere, usually associated with colder air and storm systems. And these are the heights now as of today here, early December now, and you can see we still have this jet stream structure kind of like this across North America. Now watch what happens as we go through time. Those heights start to lower over the northern and central sections here of North America. Here it is. This is southern Canada now in the northern U.S. And look at these lower heights here as we get into this first and now second week of December. This is some pretty cold air that's going to be building up in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and it's going to try to press south into the central and eastern sections of the U.S. You can see that here as those heights continue to flow south. Eventually, as we get into the middle portions here of December, that breaks down a little bit and we get back into more of a troughing out west. But I think the real story is going to be that for the most part here in December, we're going to have some fairly cold air here over portions of southern Canada and the northern U.S. as heights and thicknesses start to contract and we get more of a Hudson low. The Hudson Bay low that develops is what we call a polar vortex, and that will funnel cold air south into the U.S. This is the GFS computer model guidance, the American model with the jet stream structure here, and I'm going to show you what happens here over the next 10 days or so. What I want you to really focus on is what's happening here in this heart of the United States. This is what we call a jet core or a jet streak. This is also associated with a polar front. It usually separates these stronger winds here in the central portion of the U.S. usually will now separate real cold air, which would be up in southern Canada and in the northern sections of the U.S. from some unseasonably warm air over the Gulf of Mexico. Now, this is, as we head into the second week of December, you can see that it's probably going to be pretty warm here down in the Gulf of Mexico as cold air tries to press north or press south out of the northern, as cold air tries to press south into the United States. And then once we get into the middle portions of December now, this is the jet stream structure for the middle of December from the GFS computer model guidance. You can see that jet stream has sagged even further south into the southern sections of the United States. So again, there's likely going to be a polar front, and it's going to be a real strong one situated somewhere right around here with the Tennessee River Valley, extending back west into northern Texas, and it'll be separating warm air over the Gulf Coast from some seasonably or maybe even at times unseasonably cold air over southern Canada and the northern U.S. And you probably guessed right, this is likely going to be a stormy area too of the United States near or just south of that jet streak. Now, the European computer model guidance, this is what we call the Euro, And these are the temperature expectations here over the next 30 days. And what we're focusing on here is the first week of December. Look how cold it is expected to be up in southern Canada and into portions of the northern plains. Now watch what happens as we go through the month of December. This is the middle portion now of December right here. You can see the cold air is starting to fade out west, and we start to get a little bit more of a deeper trough here over the eastern sections of the U.S. And eventually, as we head towards the latter portions of December, it actually starts to warm up over the northern plains and in the southern Canada as we get another trough starting to dig out west and a trough digging out east, which would create cooler temperatures out there. So the first half of December looks really cold up here in southern Canada and the northern U.S., but we likely moderate as we get into the second half of December the way it appears, and that will be good news for those of you that don't like the cold. All right, here's your drought concern map, and like I had mentioned, the drought is really continues to deepen here over the northern sections of the plains and central portions of the United States. Meanwhile, it's been wet down south, and I think that's going to continue. And where they've had some real serious drought problems over Texas and Oklahoma, I think there's some good news there with precipitation expected here over the month of December that should be above normal. All right, let's look at the 30-day outlooks now from Novak Weather and AdisseoDEC. These are the temperature expectations here. Now remember, this is in general. This is going to fluctuate throughout the 30-day period, but in general, I'm expecting it to be colder than normal over much of the northern sections of the United States, and that would include the Great Lakes region. And that cold air is going to try to press south into the deep south and the Tennessee River Valley, where there's going to be quite a bit of warm air, unseasonably warm air at times over the Gulf of Mexico. And this, of course, would be a battle zone area here, I think, as we head into the month of December. And you can see that here on the precipitation outlook. Where that polar front and jet stream sets up is where you're going to find the most active weather. So from the southern plains on east to the Carolinas, I think that's going to be an area that will receive some significant precipitation. Meanwhile, pretty dry as we get a northwest Canadian northwest flow across the central and northern plains and into southern Canada, which would mean below normal precipitation there, and it's going to be wet out west. All right, that's your 30-day forecast. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Take care. Have a great December.